Have you ever heard a fish story so fantastic it almost seems too good to be true? Maybe about a group of friends embarking to an exotic destination filled with intrigue, hijinks, and adventure. The fish are huge, abundant, and have never seen a fly. Well, this is not one of those stories. The whole thing came about by accident, really. My wife Aimee and I had been going on progressively longer and more remote trips over the years, eager to push our boundaries and see some truly wild country, while we and the environment were still willing to provide it. Simultaneously, a hard-working, lodge-owning couple were looking for takers to explore a forgotten tributary of the Albany River, flowing from the virtual doorstep of their outpost camp in northern Ontario. They'd been collecting whispers and rumors that a half-century ago the stream had been popular for trophy brook trout fishing. But with no evidence of it being visited in decades, they were hesitant to throw resources at cutting trail and building infrastructure to allow clients a relatively safe shot at it. A series of serendipitous emails later, and their inquiry had landed in our lap. It wasn't glamorous, there wasn't any money in it, and it would take 2 weeks and a lot of hard work to accomplish. But the flight was free, and we considered payment in 4-pound dry fly crushing brookies to be more than adequate. With the air taxi's meter running, we exchanged brief formalities and well wishes amidst a frenzy of unloading. Before we knew it, the last people we'd see for a week were gone. We were once again on our own. In typical fashion, the journey started on a benign note as we paddled through the more frequently visited outskirts of camp on our way to the river's head.
So according to that map, there's a bigger island somewhere else.
Logistics are important for remote travel, and due diligence often requires planning months, or even years in advance. You do your best to predict what conditions might be like, but in the end, that's all it really is. A coin flip. And this year, as is increasingly the case, the Ontario summer was a season of fire. It's a funny thing, traveling in remote places. We maintain an illusion of wilderness in much of the lower 48, mostly unaware of the subtle or oftentimes not so subtle impact humanity's had on the landscape. This in turn leads us to false equivalencies about true wilderness, fantasizing that we might discover a pristine version of our favorite stretch of home river or mountain meadow, only sans the jostling crowds, pressured landscapes, and hurried toil of contemporary existence. But the truth is rarely that forgiving.
Hold on.
We conveniently forget the hundreds, if not thousands of years of trial and error which led to the development of those places, the infrastructure that transported us to the river's edge, or the endless miles of pre-blazed trail enabling our safe passage. Our minds and bodies have grown soft in our modern techno-cocoons, and the rough, unmarred landscape shows us little pity. The thing that's drawn us to wilderness expeditioning over the years isn't just that it can produce great fishing in unspoiled country. It's that it's hard.
I can't actually believe we're sitting around a campfire without bugs attacking. So strange.
It tests our mental and physical strength and lays bare our weaknesses. It encourages a sense of self-reliance, and at its best provides a quiet stage for both formative losses and great personal victories. At no point have we felt more alive, or more human, than when forced to adapt and overcome a hardship in the bush. The wilderness owes us nothing, and is altogether unwilling to bend and accommodate our wishes, no matter how tired or hungry we are. Remind me to never goddamn come back this way.
1, 2, 3.
All this is to say that sometimes going fishing has very little to do with catching fish. Sometimes it's more about frantically trying to get a satellite text through to figure out if the throat-choking forest fire smoke blanketing the horizon is an immediate threat or not, and realizing that if it was, it would already be too late. Sometimes it's about getting so hot during portages that you have to strip your protective layers off and succumb to getting utterly devoured by swarms of black flies.
Or not.
Sometimes you have to spend hours cutting and clearing trail through the woods, with the only reward being to then drag your gear and canoe through it all over again. Sometimes the water is low and warm, because wild rivers are unpredictable, and in a rapidly changing climate, it's getting harder and harder to find a seasonal baseline. So you have to drag, and paddle, and drag, and paddle, and duck, and drag, and paddle some more. Sometimes it means falling short on your goals for the day because open water, waves, and canoes don't mix. Sometimes it means abandoning the canoe and heading for the woods for a little relief from the whipping wind and rain. But sometimes, through it all, as each obstacle is tackled and overcome, you just might learn something. About the world, yourself, each other, or maybe even something so fleeting and so intangible that trying to commit it to words would be near blasphemy. And sometimes, just sometimes, with a little luck and a little hard work, there's a fish at the end.
Oh my